They say Alaska is for explorers and Holland America is for the grandparents. So I did what any responsible dad would do. I booked a cruise for my family of four on the Holland America Koningsdam to see if my kids would be the only ones not playing bingo, or if we'd finally understand what everyone else loves about this cruise line. Hey y'all, I'm Evan with Family at Sea, where we help make every cruise unforgettable. Last year we did Alaska on the Norwegian Encore, which is a big, beautiful ship that felt like Alaska on fast forward. Between the crowds, short port calls, and long shuttles to town, we never quite got the peaceful Alaska we'd imagined. So this year we tried the opposite, a line famous for slowing things down and letting Alaska be the star. Holland America's been doing this route for decades, and people say they do it better than anyone, so I wanted to find out if that slower, more classic approach really is the perfect Alaska cruise, or if we're just not there yet. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. For a ship with white tablecloth charm and glacier views, the Koningsdam pricing is pretty reasonable. On most 7-night Alaska sailings for two people, interior cabins typically start around $2,100 and can reach up to $2,800 during peak season. Ocean views typically around $3,100 to $3,800. Balconies range from $3,400 to $4,700, and suites start around $5,000 and go up from there. So no, it's not a budget cruise, but it's also not trying to be. You're paying for much smaller crowds, longer port days, and a level of service that actually makes it feel like someone's thought about your trip before you even stepped on board. And when you're sailing past glaciers instead of fighting for pool chairs, that feels like money well spent. Now the catch? Well, cruise prices change faster than Alaskan weather, and it's hard to know if you're getting a deal or just clicking the first flash sale banner that pops up. And that's why I always book through Cruises It. Instead of calling some generic travel center that's never set foot on a ship, you get a real cruise expert, someone who knows your itinerary, knows the ship you're on, and can spot a bad deal before you book it. They've saved us thousands, unlocked upgrades we didn't even know existed, and kept us from ending up like Frank, who once booked an Alaska wildlife tour that turned out to be a walk through the local taxidermy museum. Frank, buddy, when the bears don't blink, it's not exciting. With their low price guarantee and people who actually care, Cruises It makes booking simpler, cheaper, and a whole lot less stressful. So click the link in the description below or call the number on the screen and tell them Evan from Family at Sea sent you. You'll be glad you did. Boarding in Vancouver felt a bit like entering a maze with luggage. You weave through a parking garage, follow a few unclear signs, and just when you think you've gone the wrong way, a friendly port agent pops out like a checkpoint angel, pointing you in the right direction. The terminal staff were great, but the layout, well, it was definitely not designed by a cruiser. Thankfully, once we got inside, things moved fast. We had Club Orange, so our line moved quickly, but even the regular lines didn't look bad. The only real delay came when security stopped the line because a woman was trying to bring her husband's ashes on board because they said she didn't have advance permission. The good news here is that she won and they did allow her to bring them, which honestly felt like the right call. Within an hour, we were walking up the gangway onto the Koningsdam, and that's when everything shifted. The chaos of Vancouver faded instantly. The lighting softened, the crew smiled, and the music playing in the atrium felt calm and intentional. Holland America nails that first impression of quiet sophistication. This wasn't the high-energy welcome of Norwegian or Royal Caribbean, and there were no balloon arches or DJs yelling about sail away. It was something else. It was slower, warmer, and deeply confident in what it was. And for a family testing whether we were too young for Holland America, that contrast was impossible to ignore. Our veranda stateroom on the Koningsdam was cozy, and by cozy, I mean it got the job done for 4 people, but just barely. For 2, it would have been perfect. My wife and I had the main queen bed while the kids slept on a sofa bed and a Pullman bunk that folded down from the ceiling directly above us. It's a smart use of space, but once everything was set up at night, there wasn't much room to move without performing a small ballet between the sofa bed and the desk directly in front of it if you wanted to get out onto the balcony. Our bed itself was great. It was supportive and not stiff, and the linens were quality. I will say storage was definitely limited, but with the suitcases under the bed, we were able to figure it out using every drawer and shelf available to us. Both sides of the bed had outlets and USB ports, which shouldn't be noteworthy in 2025, but somehow it still is. The bathroom was compact but well executed. The shower had strong pressure and decent height clearance. While counter space was limited, the lighting and layout made it feel functional. And then there was the balcony, small but peaceful with 2 chairs and a table overlooking the water. It became my favorite morning spot for coffee and glacier views before the rest of the ship woke up. Overall, the room felt like it was designed for travelers who appreciate comfort without excess. It was understated, efficient, and surprisingly relaxing. Tight for four? Absolutely, but for two, well, it probably would have been great. The Koningsdam doesn't try to compete with the flashy, high energy ships that dominate the industry right now, and that's exactly what makes it stand out. The first time I walked through its corridors, it felt calm, confident, and designed by people who actually cruise, not by someone trying to squeeze in one more gimmick for a brochure. The atrium is modern and elegant and anchored by a twisting sculpture that captures light throughout the day, but unlike most ships, it's not really the heart of things. The real energy lives along the music walk, which is a stretch of venues between the atrium and the World Stage Theater that blend seamlessly into one another. You've got Billboard on Board, Rolling Stone Rock Room, and BB King's Blues Club, with each offering a completely different vibe, but the same high level of talent. It's the kind of place where you can wander in, sit down for just one song, and end up staying all night. Step outside that hub and the ship settles back into tranquility. The Lido pool sits under a retractable roof, making it a reliable retreat when Alaska's weather turns moody. The aft pool is open to the sky with panoramic views of the wake, and it's a hidden gem where you can just sit in a hot tub and watch glaciers drift by in silence. But my favorite space on board, and honestly one of my favorite spots on any ship, was their observation lounge, which they call the Crow's Nest. Perched high above the bow, it's an airy lounge wrapped in glass with forward-facing views that make you feel like you're gliding across the water. You can sip a specialty coffee, read, or just watch the mountains drift by while the world slows down around you. It's equal parts scenic lounge, library, and cafe, and I could have spent the whole cruise there. Just outside the Crow's Nest is the Retreat, which is a paid area offering private cabanas, dedicated service, and one of the most peaceful vantage points on the ship. It's the perfect place to watch Alaska's landscapes in total comfort. And to be honest, on a warmer Caribbean itinerary, I'd absolutely book one. If the ship has one real gap, it's the lack of a quiet indoor bar where you can grab a drink and strike up a conversation in the evenings. The Crow's Nest sometimes fills that role, but during the day it's packed and by night it can feel deserted. Design-wise, the Koningsdam feels like a classic luxury hotel that's been tastefully modernized. It's elegant without being uptight, and in an era where cruise ships keep adding distractions that make you forget you're even at sea, Holland America has done the opposite. Every space draws your attention back to the ocean. You're not escaping the world, you're immersing yourself in it. And that's the real magic of the Koningsdam. It reconnects you to why we fell in love with cruising in the first place. If there's one thing Holland America understands better than anyone, it's Alaska. They've been sailing here longer than any other cruise line, and you feel that experience in everything, from the timing and dock location of port calls to the way the ship itself is built for the itinerary. Every stop on our cruise felt effortless. The Koningsdam consistently scores the best dock locations in every port, so there's no shuttle rides and no tender boats and no guessing which way to walk. You just stepped off the ship and were in the heart of town. And after dealing with long transfers and rushed excursions on the Norwegian Encore the year before, the difference alone completely changed the tone of the trip. And because this ship departs from Vancouver, it also avoids the late-night detour to Victoria that Seattle-based sailings have to squeeze in to satisfy an outdated maritime law. Instead of wasting an evening on a technicality, Holland America uses that time to give guests longer and more meaningful port days. Every stop felt relaxed, with enough time to explore, eat, shop, and still make it back with plenty of time to spare before all aboard. And when focus shifted from port to sea, the Koningsdam proved that it was built for Alaska. The glass-covered Lido pool meant you could still enjoy the deck even when the weather turned chilly, while the Crow's Nest provided front-row views of the passing scenery without fighting for rail space. The ship's layout naturally spreads people out, so there's never that overwhelming crush of bodies you get on ships that aren't designed for Alaska. It's calm, quiet, and perfectly in sync with the pace of Alaska itself. But the crown jewel of the itinerary, and something every cruiser should experience at least once, is Glacier Bay. Only 3 major cruise lines have a permit to visit, and Holland America is one of them. As you sail into the bay, park rangers board the ship to narrate the history and geology of the area, offering fascinating insights while you drift through ice capped peaks and massive glaciers that creak and groan as they calve into the sea. It's one of those moments that feels spiritual in its stillness, like the world hit pause just for you to take it in. But what struck me most was how seamlessly everything fits together. The Koningsdam didn't feel like it was just visiting Alaska, it felt like it belonged here. The design, the schedule, the people, all of it worked together in harmony with the environment instead of competing with it. If you've ever dreamed of seeing Alaska but worried about crowds, chaos, or feeling rushed, this is how to do it. Holland America doesn't just take you there, it helps you feel it slowly, completely, and without distraction. Halfway through the cruise, something clicked. This wasn't the Alaska we knew. There was no rushing from one thing to the next and no background noise fighting for attention. The Koningsdam moved at a calmer rhythm, one that gave you space to actually take in your surroundings. At first, I wasn't sure if our kids would like it. They're used to the chaos of the big ships with water slides, arcades, and things to do everywhere you looked. But it turns out they loved it. We realized they don't enjoy being around 1,000 screaming kids any more than we do. And with fewer than 200 kids on board and rarely more than 20 in the kids club at a single time, they finally had room to breathe. For the first time in a long time, they actually asked to go back to the kids club over and over because it gave them space to enjoy the activities and get to build their own connections with others. As I stood on the bow of the ship in the middle of Glacier Bay, surrounded by silence and ancient ice, I realized this isn't a cruise line trying to entertain you. It's one inviting you to experience something real. Maybe we never were too young for Holland America. Maybe the rest of cruising just got too loud. By the second night, I'd figured out that dining on the Koningsdam wasn't about chasing wild moments. It was about rhythm, the kind that feels relaxed, familiar, and occasionally interrupted by a very long wait for your appetizer. We tried just about everything from specialty venues to the Lido buffet, and while the food was consistently good, the service was where things started to wobble. The specialty restaurants on the Koningsdam all rely on a single server for both food and drinks, which is not something I've ever seen on any other cruise line where they typically have support staff to help provide faster service. It made for slow dinners that stretched past 2 hours, which might sound romantic until you realize you can either get dessert or seats for that night's show, but not both. It didn't feel premium, it felt understaffed. One exception to that, though, was Tamarind. Everything about it clicked. The timing, the atmosphere, the flavors, and especially that crispy duck. The meal moved effortlessly, and for a minute, it felt like the old school cruise magic was back. If every specialty venue ran like Tamarind, Holland America would have one of the best dining programs at sea. Club Orange was another standout. This is Holland America's premium dining upgrade, which is basically a quieter, more personal version of the main dining room with a slightly expanded menu and better service. And it was our home base for dinners in the evenings. The food was polished, the service was sharp, and our servers, Jackson and Tova Diaz, made every meal feel personal. It wasn't flashy, but it was the kind of dinner where a drink refill shows up before you even realize you need it. The Lido market surprised me too. I usually avoid buffets like the plague, but this one was calm, clean, and actually enjoyable. Breakfasts were strong, lunches varied just enough, and even when lines formed, the staff kept things moving with quiet efficiency. Having the crew serve the food in the buffet instead of it being self-serve slowed things down slightly, but it felt more refined and it definitely made things much more hygienic. And then there's the casual stuff like the dive-in grill and New York deli and pizza, which were both solid, especially with mobile ordering through the app. It was nice not having to stand in line to grab a quick bite, and by the end of the week, I'd give the dining a solid B. The food hit all the right notes. The service sometimes forgot the tempo, but when it worked, like a Tamarind or Club Orange, it reminded me why people still love this line. Entertainment on the Koningsdam delivered a mixed experience, with moments that genuinely impressed and others that felt underwhelming. The main shows and the World Stage Theater were decent, but nothing memorable. The Magician stood out as the surprise highlight, delivering a show that was engaging, skillful, and perfectly timed for the audience. The dance troupe performed two shows, with one that was vibrant and well executed, and the second that really fell flat and lacked energy. There was a headliner act who sang country music who was clearly talented and very entertaining, but have him perform several nights made the entertainment lineup feel repetitive. But overall, it was enjoyable, just not what you'd expect from a premium cruise line. Where Holland America truly excelled, though, was in the music walk. This stretch of venues is the social and musical core of the ship, featuring three distinct spaces. B.B. King's Blues Club featured a truly talented house band performing soulful blues and R&B that had guests up and dancing every night. The Rolling Stone Rock Room focused on classic rock with a band covering everything from Fleetwood Mac to Bruce Springsteen with real energy and crowd connection. And Billboard Onboard offered a pair of high-energy dueling pianos where they encouraged sing-alongs and playful banter with the audience. While it was less polished than the other venues, it consistently drew a fun, friendly crowd. The only challenge here was capacity. The venues were often full 30 minutes before showtime, so if you didn't arrive early, you were standing in the hallway holding your drink. The Billboard Onboard and Rolling Stone Rock Room venues were directly across from one another, with performances alternating each hour since it would be too loud to have them both going at the same time. And that was an issue because if you wanted to see the performances in both venues, it was impossible to get seats for both since when one finished and you went to the other, all the seating was already full. There are very few smaller bars or lounges around the rest of the ship to settle into afterwards, which made it really difficult to settle in and just strike up a conversation since the pace kept you bouncing around and talking over loud music at all times, and I really found myself missing a quiet space in the evenings. Outside the music walk, the crow's nest offered beautiful panoramic views and a peaceful setting for daytime relaxation, but at night there really wasn't anything going on there. Now, even with its slower pace, the Koningsdam managed to create some wonderful moments through its live music. When the bands were playing and the crowd was moving together, the ship came alive in a way that felt genuine and timeless. Holland America's entertainment may not aim for spectacle, but it succeeds where it counts, creating shared moments that stay with you long after the cruise ends. Service on the Koningsdam was professional and polished, though occasionally stretched thin. Our cabin was refreshed twice daily, including a full turn-down service each evening, which added a touch of classic cruise elegance that's increasingly rare. Most of the crew we interacted with were warm, courteous, and took pride in what they did, but it was easy to see they were working hard to keep up with the pace. At dinner, the difference between venues was noticeable. In some restaurants, service moved slowly because servers were handling both food and drinks without any assistance. On other nights, particularly in Club Orange, everything clicked perfectly and they learned our preferences by day two, welcomed our kids with genuine kindness, and kept every meal running smoothly. That level of attention and consistency elevated the entire experience. The ship's leadership also carried that same steady professionalism. Announcements were clear and personable, and there was a sense that the entire operation ran with quiet confidence rather than flash. As for the atmosphere, it matched the Alaska itinerary perfectly. The vibe was calm and comfortable without ever feeling stuffy. Guests were friendly but reserved, and most seemed content to relax, read, or enjoy the scenery rather than chase entertainment or nightlife. Public spaces stayed clean and inviting, and the decor struck a pleasant balance between modern refinement and timeless style, like an older luxury hotel that's been tastefully updated rather than replaced. The only thing missing was a truly social spot where conversation came naturally. I think we made fewer connections on this sailing than I can ever remember, simply because the ship isn't designed to invite these types of organic interactions. The lounges were either buzzing with music or winding down for the night, and while the crow's nest offered stunning views and an elegant coffee bar, it alternated between being packed during the day and nearly empty by evening. Still, by the end of the week, what stood out wasn't how easy everything felt. The Koningsdam doesn't rely on technology or gimmicks to deliver good service. It just quietly delivers. It's the kind of atmosphere that makes you stop, breathe, and realize you're finally on vacation. By the end of the week, I'd stopped thinking about the Koningsdam as a ship to explore and started seeing it as a rhythm to fall into. Holland America cruises reward patience. The more you slow down, the better the experience becomes. But if I sail with them again, there's a few things I'll do differently next time. I'll book Tamarind twice and skip most of the other specialty restaurants because that one meal alone justified the upcharge. I'll spend more time in the crow's nest early in the mornings before it fills up, and I'll plan ahead for the music walk since the best seats go fast. If we're on board in a warm weather climate, I'll definitely give the retreat a try, as it looks like the perfect place to unwind, weather permitting. More than anything, though, I'll go in with a different mindset. This isn't a cruise for chasing constant activity. It's one for travelers who value space, calm, and connection with the sea, the scenery, and each other. Holland America didn't make me feel too young for their brand. It made me realize how much I've changed as a cruiser. I used to chase ships packed with options, and that's still a priority at times. But I definitely appreciate a sailing that encourages me to slow down and embrace the moment, and that's exactly what the Koningsdam did. But here's the bad news. Even if you pick the right ship for Alaska, most travelers still make the same mistakes that cost them time, money, and the best views. From choosing the wrong side of the ship to booking too late in the season, it's easier than you think to get it wrong. But the good news? You don't have to. I've put together a full series of videos that shows you how to plan the perfect Alaska cruise, from choosing the right itinerary and cruise line to avoiding the pitfalls that most people never see coming. So don't stop here. Come hang out with me in the next one, and I'll help you make sure your next cruise through Alaska feels every bit as unforgettable as it looks. If you're ready, I am. Let's go.